The world is watching as Meghan Markle's fate seems sealed, a saga that has gripped the media for years, reaching a dramatic turning point. Imagine the tension, the whispers behind palace walls, the cameras flashing as a woman who once commanded global attention now faces the consequences of a storm that has been brewing for far longer than most realize. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Meghan Markle, a name synonymous with glamour, controversy, and now royal reckoning, is reportedly taken into custody following a legal strike by none other than Princess Anne. But this was not a sudden, impulsive act. It is the culmination of a meticulously planned strategy, a move executed with precision to restore accountability after years of private feuds, hidden betrayals, and behind-the-scenes manipulations that few outside the palace could fully comprehend. To understand the gravity of this moment, one must first appreciate the delicate balance that the royal family has maintained for decades. It is a world where loyalty is currency, where every gesture is scrutinized, and where a single misstep can trigger ripples felt across the globe. Meghan's journey from a Hollywood actress to Duchess of Sussex was always going to be fraught with scrutiny, but few anticipated the intricate web of tensions that would entangle her so completely. From the early days of her engagement to Prince Harry, there were murmurs, whispers of friction with courtiers, subtle clashes with family members, and a growing narrative that she would not conform to centuries-old expectations. Yet, for every public smile, every red carpet appearance, and every charitable initiative, there were private battles waged behind closed doors, battles that would eventually converge into the legal strike that has left the world stunned. The hook, the drama, the intensity of this unfolding situation is almost cinematic in its scope. Picture the corridors of the palace. Hushed conversations, hurried meetings with advisors, and the flicker of anticipation as Princess Anne, often understated in her public persona, emerges as the orchestrator of a move that would change the course of royal history. This is not simply about Meghan being held accountable. It is about a family asserting control, re-establishing order, and sending a message that no one, regardless of fame or public sympathy, is beyond the reach of tradition and law. The legal strike is emblematic of a broader strategy, one that involves patience, timing, and a deep understanding of both public perception and private influence. From the beginning, Meghan's life within the royal sphere was a study in contrasts. Publicly, she was celebrated as a modernizing force, a woman who seemed to bring a new energy to a centuries-old institution. Social media buzzed with admiration, interviews showcased her charisma, and countless media outlets followed her every move. Behind the cameras, however, the story was far more complex. Insiders described tension and miscommunication, friction over protocol, and moments of conflict that, while subtle at first, compounded over time. The royal household is a delicate ecosystem, where every action, every word, and every appearance carries significance. To outsiders, Meghan's occasional disregard for convention might have seemed minor. To the family, it was part of a pattern, a sign that the pressures of royal life were clashing with her personal ambitions and perspective. It was not merely personal differences that fueled the growing discord. There were strategic calculations, alliances, and rivalries that quietly influenced the unfolding drama. Princess Anne, known for her discipline, commitment, and unyielding sense of duty, had observed these patterns with concern. The legal strike she initiated is not an impulsive response but the final act of a plan long in preparation, a deliberate effort to bring clarity and resolution after years of accumulating issues. To appreciate the magnitude of this development, one must consider the meticulous nature of royal protocol. Every step is calculated, every public announcement is measured, and every legal maneuver is designed to achieve maximum effect while maintaining the veneer of tradition and decorum. The anticipation surrounding Meghan's reported custody reflects more than just a legal decision. It symbolizes a turning point in the ongoing narrative of the Sussex saga. The world has been captivated by stories of tension, leaked letters, controversial interviews, and high-profile appearances. Each chapter seemed to promise resolution, yet the underlying currents of conflict persisted, quietly shaping the family dynamics in ways that only now are coming to light. The timing of Princess Anne's move suggests a carefully orchestrated strategy, one that accounts for public perception, media reaction, and the internal balance of power within the family. It is a demonstration of strategic patience, waiting for the precise moment when action would carry the maximum weight, both legally and symbolically. As viewers, it is impossible not to be drawn into the human dimension of this story. Meghan, a woman thrust into one of the most scrutinized roles in the world, now faces a reality that few could have predicted. The media frenzy is immediate, with news outlets scrambling to provide updates, experts weighing in on implications, and social media platforms erupting with speculation. Yet beneath the headlines, there is a deeply personal narrative of accountability, familial responsibility, and the intersection of private conduct with public consequence. The story invites reflection. How do power, privilege, and responsibility coexist in the most visible family in the world? What does it mean for one individual to challenge tradition, and how does the institution respond when its boundaries are tested? The layers of complexity extend beyond Meghan herself. There are the broader implications for the royal family, a centuries-old institution navigating the pressures of modern media, global public opinion, and the expectations of generations. Princess Anne's intervention is emblematic of the mechanisms the family employs to maintain stability, demonstrating that tradition and authority remain potent forces even in an era of unprecedented scrutiny. Each move, each decision, and each announcement is laden with significance, shaping not only the present moment, but also the narrative that will be remembered for years to come. The drama is not confined to palace walls. It resonates across nations, influencing perceptions, igniting debate, and compelling audiences to confront questions of fairness, accountability, and the limits of celebrity influence within institutions. Even for those familiar with Meghan's history, the current development is striking in its clarity and finality. The reported sentence and legal action indicate a decisive moment, one where personal history, institutional responsibility, and public spectacle intersect. It is a story that cannot be reduced to simple dichotomies of right and wrong. Instead, it demands nuanced understanding, an appreciation of the pressures of royal life, the complexities of individual choice, and the consequences of actions both private and public. For viewers, it is an invitation to witness history in the making, to follow a narrative that combines strategy, drama, and human emotion in a way that few contemporary stories can match. As this video unfolds, viewers can expect to delve into every layer of the saga. The legal intricacies behind Princess Anne's action, the personal and professional missteps attributed to Meghan, the reactions from family, staff, and global audiences, and the subtle signals that reveal the long-term strategy behind the move. Each chapter will provide context, expert insight, and vivid storytelling that brings the events to life. We will explore not only what has happened but why it happened, the implications for the future of the royal family, and the potential paths forward for Meghan Markle herself. There will be moments of revelation, reflection, and perhaps even shock, as previously hidden elements of the story come to light. The introduction sets the stage for a narrative that is both urgent and complex, one where history, family dynamics, and personal choices converge. By the end of this video, viewers will have a comprehensive understanding of how a seemingly sudden custody situation is actually the product of years of planning, observation, and strategic decision-making. They will gain insight into the inner workings of the royal family, the pressures faced by those within it, and the ways in which power, protocol, and accountability intersect. This is not just a story about one individual. It is a story about a system, a family, and a legacy. As we take a closer look at the forces that have shaped this unprecedented moment, it becomes clear that this is not merely a story about Meghan Markle. It is a tale of power, influence, and the delicate dance between personal ambition and institutional expectation. Over the years, Meghan has been both celebrated and scrutinized, praised for her modernizing influence and criticized for perceived breaches of protocol. Each decision she made, from public statements to private interactions, has been dissected, often in ways that magnify tension and amplify consequences. The royal family, a centuries-old institution with deeply ingrained rules and traditions, has had to navigate this extraordinary situation carefully, balancing the need for discretion with the demands of public accountability. Princess Anne's involvement is particularly noteworthy because she is rarely the center of public controversy. Known for her unflinching commitment to duty, she has consistently demonstrated an ability to observe, analyze, and act with precision. The legal strike she initiated reflects not only her understanding of the law but also her capacity to manage complex familial dynamics. It is a calculated move, signaling that patience, timing, and strategic thinking are essential in resolving long-standing disputes within the palace. The world may see the dramatic outcome, but the behind-the-scenes preparation and consideration are what make this moment historically significant. The unfolding events are also a testament to the way modern media intersects with royal life. In today's era of instantaneous communication, every action, statement, and image can spark global debate. Meghan's custody, the legal maneuvers, and the strategic planning by Princess Anne are all magnified by media coverage and social commentary, creating a narrative that captivates audiences worldwide. The stakes are high, not just for the individuals involved, but for the monarchy itself, as it seeks to maintain authority, tradition, and public confidence in a rapidly changing world. Viewers watching this video are witnessing a moment where history, media spectacle, and human drama collide in real time. Consider the emotional weight of the moment. Meghan, a woman whose life has been documented, analyzed, and debated at every stage, now facing a scenario few could have imagined. From the public perception of glamour and influence to the private reality of scrutiny and consequence, the contrast is stark. The story invites viewers to reflect on the complexities of fame, the responsibilities that come with public roles, and the delicate balance between personal choice and societal expectation. The drama is heightened by the historical significance of Princess Anne's action, emphasizing that accountability within the royal family is both symbolic and practical. In the coming chapters, this video will delve into every facet of this story. We will examine the legal intricacies behind Princess Anne's intervention, uncover the hidden betrayals and long-standing tensions that contributed to Meghan's current situation, and explore the global reaction that has followed the announcement. We will also look at the personal ramifications for Meghan, the royal family, and those caught in the orbit of this extraordinary event. Through a combination of storytelling, expert insight, and dramatic reconstruction, viewers will gain a full understanding of the forces at play and the implications for the future. The stakes could not be higher. This is a story about more than one individual. It is a narrative that reflects on legacy, reputation, and the enduring influence of family dynamics in the most visible monarchy in the world. Each moment, from the legal strike to the reported custody, is laden with significance. For viewers, the question is not only what happened, but why it happened, how it was orchestrated, and what it means for the future of the royal family. The answers lie in careful observation, strategic decision-making, and the often unseen mechanisms that govern one of the most powerful institutions on the planet. By setting the stage in this way, the introduction has established both the emotional and factual foundation for the story that follows. Viewers are invited to engage deeply with the narrative, to consider the complexities of power, loyalty, and consequence, and to witness the unfolding drama in a way that is both informative and emotionally compelling. The story of Meghan Markle's reported custody and the strategic legal strike by Princess Anne is not simply news. It is history in motion, a tale of human ambition, institutional authority, and the enduring drama of one of the world's most famous families. This introduction concludes by leaving viewers with a sense of anticipation and urgency. The chapters that follow will unpack the strategy, reveal hidden conflicts, and explore the dramatic consequences of this unprecedented moment. The stage is set for an exploration of power, betrayal, and accountability, all unfolding within the walls of the palace and across global media platforms. The audience now knows that this story is both deeply personal and historically significant, offering insights, revelations, and a perspective that few outside the inner circle could fully comprehend. The story of Meghan Markle's reported custody cannot be understood without first examining the unprecedented legal strike initiated by Princess Anne. To most outsiders, the idea of a royal family member taking legal action against another may seem startling, almost unthinkable. Yet, for those familiar with the intricacies of palace protocol, the move is both calculated and revealing. Princess and, long respected for her unyielding sense of duty and meticulous attention to detail, has historically been a quiet observer, rarely seeking the spotlight. Her intervention in Meghan Markle's affairs marks a dramatic departure from her usual discretion, signaling that the situation had reached a level demanding decisive action. To understand the magnitude of this strike, one must first appreciate the preparation behind it. This was not a knee-jerk reaction to a sudden event or a spur-of-the-moment decision. Insiders suggest that months, perhaps even years of observation, internal consultations, and subtle warnings preceded this legal maneuver. Reports indicate that Princess Anne convened a series of confidential meetings with legal advisors, palace officials, and senior courtiers to map out a strategy that would minimize disruption to the royal family while ensuring that accountability was finally enforced. The legal strike itself, therefore, represents the culmination of a methodical process, an orchestrated effort to assert authority, restore order, and address long-standing grievances that had quietly festered behind closed doors. The mechanics of the legal strike are complex and multifaceted. At its core, it involves a formal assertion of the family's expectations and rules, combined with the legal mechanisms necessary to ensure compliance. Sources suggest that Princess Anne leveraged both civil and administrative avenues, creating a framework that left little room for negotiation or delay. It was a move designed to be both symbolic and practical. Symbolic, in that it demonstrated the family's unwavering commitment to tradition and protocol, and practical, in that it created a legal pathway for enforcement. The decision to pursue such a route underscores the seriousness with which the family viewed Meghan's actions, reflecting a belief that private discussions and informal warnings had been insufficient to bring about the desired resolution. The timing of the strike also appears to have been strategically chosen. Palace insiders indicate that Princess Anne waited for a moment when public and internal conditions aligned, allowing the intervention to carry maximum impact. Factors likely considered include Meghan's recent public appearances, media coverage, and the broader narrative surrounding the Sussexes. By selecting this precise moment, Princess Anne ensured that the legal action would dominate attention, reinforcing both the gravity of the situation and the family's capacity to act decisively. In other words, the strike was not only a legal tool but a calculated message, sent simultaneously to Meghan, the public, and the world of royal watchers who have followed the drama closely for years. Beyond the formalities of law, there is a deeply human element to this strike. Observers note that Princess Anne's reputation for fairness and discipline means that her involvement carries moral as well as legal weight. The action reflects not just an enforcement of rules but an expression of responsibility toward the integrity of the institution. In private, it is said that Anne viewed the situation with a mixture of concern and inevitability. Concern for the disruption Meghan's actions had caused within the family, and inevitability in recognizing that intervention had become unavoidable. This dual perspective underscores the complexity of the royal family's internal dynamics, where personal relationships and institutional obligations are tightly intertwined. The legal strike has also sparked a flurry of speculation regarding the roles of other family members. While Princess Anne is publicly credited with initiating the action, it is believed that key advisors, including senior courtiers and legal experts, played crucial roles in shaping the strategy. The decision to act is unlikely to have been made in isolation. Instead, it reflects a coordinated effort, with input from those who understand both the legal framework and the delicate nature of royal protocol. By acting through Princess Anne, the family ensured that the move would be authoritative yet measured, leveraging her credibility to reinforce the legitimacy of the intervention. Public perception of the strike adds another layer of complexity. News of Princess Anne's legal maneuver quickly spread across media outlets, generating intense speculation and widespread commentary. Analysts noted the unusual nature of the action, with many framing it as an unprecedented assertion of authority within the royal family. Social media buzzed with debate, fans and critics alike weighing in on whether Meghan's actions warranted such a response. The striking part of this public reaction is that it underscores the global fascination with the monarchy. Even an internal legal action, intended to address private disputes, becomes a matter of international attention. This dynamic adds both pressure and significance to the move, magnifying its consequences and shaping the narrative in real time. The implications of the strike are profound. Legally, it establishes a precedent for how internal family disputes can be addressed when private dialogue proves insufficient. Institutionally, it signals that tradition, authority, and accountability. The legal strike also sheds light on the delicate interplay between secrecy and transparency within the monarchy. While much of the family's internal decision-making remains shielded from public view, moments like this force an intersection between private action and public scrutiny. Princess Anne's move, though carefully orchestrated behind closed doors, inevitably became a story with global resonance. Every detail, from the timing of the legal filings to the choice of messenger, was likely calculated to maintain control over the narrative, yet the story still leapt into the public sphere almost immediately. This duality highlights the modern challenge faced by royals, balancing institutional discretion with the reality of instantaneous global communication, where even subtle actions are dissected by millions. Furthermore, the legal strike illuminates the depth of planning and foresight required to navigate royal accountability. Observers suggest that Anne's team meticulously mapped out contingencies, anticipating public reaction, Meghan's potential legal countermoves, and media framing. Each step was likely designed to protect the integrity of the monarchy while ensuring that the intervention could not be easily undermined or portrayed as overreach. In this sense, the strike is not merely a punitive measure but a strategic demonstration of organizational foresight, reinforcing the principle that the family acts deliberately, with precision, and according to established protocols, even in situations that appear chaotic or unprecedented to outsiders. Equally significant is the message the strike sends within the palace itself. It is a statement to courtiers, advisors, and extended family that rules, expectations, and accountability are enforceable. While Meghan Markle's prominence and celebrity might have shielded her from informal reprimands, the legal strike removes ambiguity. There is now a concrete demonstration that boundaries exist and that enforcement is both possible and inevitable when necessary. For palace insiders, this moment is likely a powerful reminder of the hierarchy, the limits of individual autonomy, and the weight of responsibility that comes with membership in one of the world's most scrutinized families. The strike's ripple effects extend beyond immediate family dynamics. Legal analysts, constitutional experts, and royal commentators have all speculated on what this action implies for future interactions within the monarchy. Could other members face similar interventions if disputes escalate? How does this redefine the parameters of permissible behavior, even for those with high visibility or public sympathy? These questions underscore that Princess Anne's legal strike is not only reactive but also preventative, establishing a framework that signals long-term standards and expectations. By taking decisive action now, the monarchy is effectively drawing a line in the sand, one that will likely influence behavior and decision-making for years to come. Finally, the dramatic weight of the legal strike cannot be overstated. For Meghan Markle, it represents a moment of confrontation with the full force of royal authority. For Princess Anne, it is an assertion of responsibility, discipline, and strategic acumen. For the world, it is a spectacle that combines intrigue, legal strategy, and human drama in a narrative that few other families could produce. As viewers continue through this story, the legal strike serves as the foundation upon which all subsequent events are built, shaping the narrative arc and creating a suspenseful backdrop for the unfolding chapters. The royal legal strike is therefore a turning point, not only in Meghan Markle's personal journey but in the broader narrative of the monarchy. It demonstrates that tradition, authority, and accountability remain formidable forces, capable of guiding and regulating behavior even amidst public scrutiny, celebrity influence, and global attention. This chapter, detailing the strike, sets the stage for the subsequent exploration of Meghan's history of feuds, the custody scenario, and the long-term implications for both her legacy and the family institution. To understand why Princess Anne's legal strike became necessary, one must first examine the intricate web of conflicts and feuds that Meghan Markle accumulated over the years within the royal family. These are not isolated incidents but patterns of tension that, when viewed collectively, reveal the deeper reasons behind the unprecedented intervention. Meghan's rise into the royal sphere was accompanied by both admiration and skepticism. Publicly, she was celebrated as a modernizing influence, a woman of intelligence and charisma who seemed poised to bring a fresh perspective to centuries-old traditions. Privately, however, the palace's corridors were reportedly rife with unease, whispers of discontent, and friction that quietly escalated into full-blown conflict. From the earliest days of her engagement, Meghan faced challenges navigating the rigid expectations of royal life. Sources indicate that disagreements over protocol, staffing, and scheduling began almost immediately. Some courtiers reportedly viewed her assertiveness as a breach of etiquette, while others perceived her efforts to modernize palace practices as disruptive. Minor clashes over how to handle public appearances, charitable initiatives, and household management quickly accumulated, creating a tension-filled environment. Each incident, though seemingly small on its own, became a thread in a broader narrative of friction, illustrating the challenges of integrating a high-profile outsider into an institution steeped in tradition. Meghan's conflicts were not limited to staff or protocol. They extended to her interactions with senior family members. Reports suggest that she occasionally clashed with Prince William's staff, Catherine's aides, and even members of the extended family. These disputes were often fueled by differences in expectations, communication styles, and perceptions of authority. Where some saw collaboration, others perceived resistance or defiance. What may have appeared to the public as normal adjustment issues were, behind palace walls, interpreted as signs of tension, defiance, or even disrespect. These interpersonal conflicts contributed to a sense that Meghan was operating outside established norms, reinforcing the perception that intervention might eventually be required. The media amplified these tensions, often highlighting disagreements and controversies in ways that intensified scrutiny. Every interview, public appearance, or social media statement was dissected for signs of friction or misalignment with royal expectations. Paparazzi coverage, tabloid speculation, and opinion pieces created a narrative that Meghan was frequently at odds with the institution, magnifying minor incidents into seemingly systemic problems. This external pressure compounded internal frustrations, creating an environment in which feuds were not only real but publicly visible, leaving the family with little choice but to consider corrective measures. One of the most notable areas of tension involved Meghan's relationship with household staff. Reports suggest that several long-serving aides experienced conflict over working style, communication, and decision-making processes. Sources indicate that disagreements, while often professional, sometimes escalated into personal tensions. Courtiers who had served the family for decades reportedly struggled with Meghan's approaches to scheduling, event planning, and media relations. While some staff members attempted to adapt, others reportedly felt undermined, leading to a cycle of friction that slowly eroded trust. The accumulation of these issues became a critical factor in the family's assessment of Meghan's conduct and the eventual decision to pursue legal action. Another dimension of Meghan's feuds involved her relationships with the media and public relations teams. Royal insiders suggest that she occasionally bypassed traditional channels, opting to engage directly with journalists or social media platforms. While this strategy allowed her to craft her own narrative, it sometimes created friction with established palace communication protocols. Advisors reportedly expressed concern that unilateral statements could undermine collective messaging, creating tension not only with staff but also with other family members. These media-related conflicts contributed to the perception that Meghan was not fully aligned with the institution's expectations, reinforcing the notion that structured intervention might be necessary. Beyond staff and media interactions, Meghan's feuds extended into broader family dynamics. Reports indicate that subtle tensions with cousins, distant relatives, and other royals occasionally surfaced, particularly during official engagements or public events. Differences in priorities, interpretations of tradition, and personal demeanor often led to misunderstandings that escalated into prolonged periods of friction. These conflicts, while often shielded from the public eye, were closely monitored by senior family members, contributing to a cumulative assessment of behavior that would inform later strategic decisions. Publicly documented incidents further illustrate the pattern of tension. From disagreements over event protocols to reported clashes at official functions, Meghan's tenure in the royal family was marked by moments of discord that repeatedly attracted media attention. While some incidents were magnified due to sensationalist reporting, others were corroborated by multiple sources, lending credibility to claims of ongoing disputes. Each public controversy reinforced the narrative of misalignment, creating an impression that Meghan's behavior was not merely atypical but consistently at odds with established norms. An essential aspect of these feuds is their persistence over time. The pattern suggests that the conflicts were not isolated outbursts but ongoing dynamics that evolved as Meghan became more accustomed to her role and as the family adjusted to her presence. The cumulative effect of these disputes created an environment in which intervention became increasingly likely. What may have begun as minor disagreements escalated into systemic challenges that required formal resolution, setting the stage for princess and strategic legal strike. Experts and royal analysts often emphasize that such feuds are not unique to Meghan but are intensified by her public profile and the media scrutiny that accompanies it. Every disagreement, no matter how small, was amplified, leaving little room for private resolution. In this context, the decision to pursue legal action can be seen as both pragmatic and inevitable, a method for restoring order and asserting boundaries in a highly visible and complex environment. The history of Meghan's feuds also provides insight into the broader stakes of the current situation. These disputes were not simply about personal differences. They were about alignment with centuries of tradition, institutional expectations, and the careful management of public perception. Each conflict contributed to a perception that corrective measures were necessary, creating a justification for the legal strike that would ultimately place Meghan in custody. By understanding these feuds, viewers gain a deeper appreciation for why the situation escalated to such a dramatic turning point and why Princess Anne's intervention was both strategic and decisive. Finally, the story of Meghan's feuds underscores the human dimension of royal life. While the legal and institutional consequences are clear, the emotional, relational, and personal elements are equally significant. The accumulation of conflicts, the challenges of navigating an intensely scrutinized environment, and the interplay of personality and expectation all combine to create a situation of immense complexity. Meghan's history of feuds is therefore not merely a backdrop but a central narrative thread that explains the logic, timing, and necessity of the events that follow. The moment Meghan Markle was reportedly taken into custody marks the dramatic crescendo of a saga that has captivated the world for years. To imagine the scene is to picture a confluence of tension, protocol, and history, where centuries of tradition intersect with modern legal action. The reported custody is not just a procedural maneuver, it is a symbolic and emotional turning point, demonstrating the royal family's capacity for decisive action while highlighting the culmination of long-simmering conflicts. Palace insiders describe the scene as one meticulously orchestrated to maintain order while minimizing public disruption. Security teams, legal advisors, and senior staff coordinated every step to ensure that the action would proceed without chaos, yet with the full weight of authority unmistakably conveyed. Observers suggest that Meghan's movements were closely monitored prior to the event, with her schedule carefully assessed to determine the most appropriate moment for intervention. The timing, according to reports, was chosen to balance public perception, media scrutiny, and the logistical realities of enforcing the legal strike. As Meghan was escorted from her residence, eyewitnesses claim the atmosphere was charged with anticipation and unease. Guards and aides moved with precision, reflecting the gravity of the situation. Though official statements were scarce, sources indicate that the protocols observed were rigorous, adhering to both legal and royal standards. Every step, from notification to escort, was designed to communicate the seriousness of the action while maintaining decorum. For Meghan, this moment represented the intersection of personal consequence and public spectacle, a juncture at which private disputes became unmistakably visible to the world. The visual of Meghan being taken into custody is potent, resonating far beyond the palace walls. Media outlets quickly captured images and descriptions, some emphasizing her demeanor, attire, and expressions, while others focused on the composition of the escort team and the ceremonial gravitas of the setting. Analysts noted that the scene conveyed both authority and restraint, The family was demonstrating its power without overt aggression, asserting control while preserving the dignity traditionally associated with royal interventions. The optics of the moment were, in many ways, as important as the legal implications, reinforcing the careful planning that preceded the action. Inside the palace, the logistics of the custody scenario were reportedly extensive. Legal documents were prepared and reviewed, security protocols were coordinated, and communications with senior advisors ensured alignment across multiple departments. It is said that contingency plans were in place to address potential complications, from unexpected media leaks to attempts to circumvent the legal process. This level of preparation underscores the calculated nature of the intervention. The custody was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but the execution of a long-term strategy designed to assert authority and resolve ongoing tensions. The human element of the scene is equally compelling. Meghan, whose public persona has been shaped by both admiration and criticism, now faced a situation that few could imagine for a royal figure. Reports suggest a mixture of composure and tension in her demeanor, reflecting both awareness of the gravity of the moment and the pressures of public scrutiny. Staff and aides, too, reportedly experienced heightened stress, balancing the need to execute orders with personal concern for her well-being. This interplay of professionalism, emotion, and obligation illustrates the complexity of royal operations when legal, ceremonial, and personal dimensions converge. The reported custody also created immediate ripple effects across the royal household. Courtiers and family members were informed in carefully controlled stages, ensuring that the action's execution did not destabilize ongoing operations or provoke internal conflict. Senior advisors monitored both internal reactions and public response, demonstrating a dual focus on operational precision and narrative control. Every aspect of the event was managed to preserve the family's authority, maintain public confidence, and reinforce the symbolic significance of the intervention. Public reaction to the custody scene was immediate and intense. News outlets around the world provided real-time coverage, while social media erupted with speculation, opinion, and debate. Headlines emphasized the unprecedented nature of the action, often portraying it as a dramatic showdown between a high-profile royal figure and the institution she joined. The global fascination underscores the extraordinary visibility of Meghan's situation. A private legal and familial action was instantly transformed into a public spectacle, capturing attention across continents and generations. Within the palace, the implications of the custody extended beyond Meghan herself. Observers note that the event served as a clear demonstration of the family's authority, both internally and externally. By taking decisive action, the monarchy sent a message to staff, advisors, and extended family members that rules are enforceable and that accountability is non-negotiable. The custody became a practical and symbolic instrument, reinforcing the hierarchy, maintaining order, and emphasizing the seriousness with which the family addresses deviations from established norms. The psychological impact on Meghan cannot be underestimated. Being escorted into custody by a family she joined through marriage presents a unique emotional challenge. Sources indicate that the experience combined elements of personal consequence, public exposure, and institutional authority, creating a situation of intense stress and visibility. The custody was not merely a legal enforcement but a deeply symbolic act, one that challenged both her personal autonomy and her public identity. It is said that this moment crystallized the cumulative weight of years of feuds, media scrutiny, and family dynamics, leaving an indelible mark on her legacy. Legal experts analyzing the scenario emphasize its precedent-setting nature. While custody within royal circles is rare, this situation illustrates the interplay between personal conduct, family authority, and legal mechanisms. By executing the strike in this manner, Princess and her advisors reinforced both the enforceability of rules and the consequences of defiance. The custody becomes not just a moment in Meghan's life, but a case study in the integration of legal, institutional, and public considerations in one of the most scrutinized families in history. The reported custody also highlights the intersection of spectacle and strategy. Every element, from the timing to the escort, the composition of staff, and the controlled dissemination of information, was designed to communicate authority and consequence. It is a reminder that within the royal family, actions are rarely isolated. They carry layers of meaning, affecting perception, precedent, and the ongoing narrative. For Meghan, the custody represents both an immediate consequence and a public illustration of accountability, leaving viewers and observers to contemplate the broader implications for her position, reputation, and relationships within the family. As this chapter closes, the custody scene stands as a pivotal moment in the unfolding saga. It is the tangible manifestation of the legal strike, the visible culmination of years of feuds and strategic planning, and a symbolic assertion of authority that resonates across the globe. As this chapter closes, the custody scene stands as a pivotal moment in the unfolding saga. It is the tangible manifestation of the legal strike, the visible culmination of years of feuds and strategic planning, and a symbolic assertion of authority that resonates across the globe. The scene is both practical and emblematic, demonstrating the convergence of law, family dynamics, and public perception. In understanding the custody, viewers gain insight into the gravity of Meghan Markle's situation, the careful orchestration behind the action, and the strategic foresight that shaped this historic moment. The custody of Meghan Markle did not occur in isolation. It is the culmination of a long-prepared strategy meticulously orchestrated within the royal household, a plan that unfolded over months, if not years. Unlike the dramatic headlines suggest, this was not a spontaneous reaction to a single incident. It was the product of careful observation, strategic planning, and a deliberate calculation of timing, public perception, and institutional needs. Princess, and often understated in public appearances yet unyielding in her commitment to duty, played a central role in developing this multi-layered approach. Her strategy was designed to address not only immediate concerns regarding Meghan, but also broader questions of accountability, precedence, and the stability of the monarchy. The first component of the strategy was observation. Sources indicate that Princess and senior advisors monitored Meghan's actions, communications, and public appearances closely. This was not surveillance in the intrusive sense, but a meticulous tracking of behavior patterns, decisions, and interactions with both staff and other family members. Every perceived misalignment with protocol, every clash with courtiers, and every public statement that deviated from agreed-upon messaging was logged, analyzed, and weighed. This constant observation allowed the royal household to build a comprehensive understanding of Meghan's approach, identifying recurring issues and potential flashpoints that could not be ignored. Parallel to observation was the process of private warnings and communications. Reports suggest that Meghan was not blindsided by the eventual legal action. Instead, she received multiple indications that her behavior was under scrutiny and that accountability mechanisms might be engaged. Advisors, legal teams, and senior family members reportedly issued private communications outlining expectations, concerns, and potential consequences. These interactions, while discreet, were carefully documented to ensure clarity and maintain a record of communication. By establishing a trail of warnings and advisory guidance, Princess and her team ensured that the eventual legal strike was not only justified but seen as the last resort after all other avenues were explored. A critical element of the strategy was timing. Legal experts and palace insiders emphasized that the decision to act was not made lightly. Every factor, from Meghan's public appearances to media cycles, was considered when selecting the precise moment to execute the legal strike in custody. The aim was to maximize both effectiveness and perception, ensuring that the intervention would be decisive and authoritative without creating unnecessary chaos. By waiting until multiple conditions aligned, Princess's team could execute the strategy with precision, reinforcing the authority of the action and the seriousness of the message being conveyed to Meghan and the broader royal household. The strategic plan also involved careful coordination with legal advisors. While the monarchy operates within unique protocols, it remains bound by broader legal frameworks when enforcing internal rules. Experts indicate that Anne and her legal team meticulously prepared the necessary documents, anticipated potential challenges, and established protocols to respond to any attempt to circumvent the custody. By integrating legal considerations into the planning phase, the strategy ensured that the action would be enforceable, defensible, and resilient in the face of both internal and public scrutiny. This attention to legal precision underscores the methodical nature of the approach, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of both law and royal protocol. Another key component was managing communication and optics. The royal household understands that perception is as crucial as action. Strategists within the palace carefully orchestrated what information would be released, when, and in what format. Every statement, image, and update was evaluated for its potential impact on public opinion, internal morale, and Meghan's response. This element of the strategy highlights the modern challenges of leadership in a high-profile family, balancing secrecy, authority, and public visibility in a world dominated by instant news, social media, and global attention. The strategy also accounted for potential resistance. Recognizing that Meghan's high profile and strong network of supporters could complicate the intervention, Anne's team developed contingency plans. These included alternative logistical arrangements for custody, responses to public backlash, and strategies for mitigating internal disagreements among advisors and family members. By anticipating challenges and planning for multiple scenarios, the team ensured that the execution would be smooth, authoritative, and adaptable, reinforcing the effectiveness of the action while minimizing disruption. Underlying all these operational elements was a clear moral and institutional rationale. Princess and strategy was not motivated solely by protocol. It was also informed by a desire to preserve the integrity of the monarchy. Sources indicate that Anne and her advisors viewed the legal strike as a necessary step to demonstrate that rules and accountability are enforced, even for the most prominent members. This principle, combined with careful planning and meticulous execution, created a strategy that was both ethically grounded and operationally sound, addressing both personal and institutional dimensions of the conflict. The long-prepared strategy also relied on internal consensus building. Key advisors, senior courtiers, and family members were engaged to ensure alignment, prevent leaks, and maintain cohesion. Meetings reportedly involved confidential discussions regarding potential outcomes, the impact on public perception, and the messaging strategy. By securing internal consensus, Anne ensured that the action would be authoritative and unified, reducing the risk of dissent that could weaken the intervention or undermine its effectiveness. Finally, the strategy reflected an understanding of historical precedent and institutional memory. The monarchy, with centuries of tradition, has faced challenges from members whose actions tested boundaries or deviated from expectations. By framing the intervention within this historical context, Princess Anne and her team reinforced the legitimacy of their actions, showing that accountability is consistent with the family's values and long-standing practices. This connection to precedent adds depth to the strategy, demonstrating that the decision to act was informed not only by immediate circumstances, but also by an awareness of the monarchy's enduring legacy. The long-prepared strategy, in all its complexity, demonstrates a level of foresight, planning, and precision rarely seen in public family disputes. Every element, from observation and warnings to timing, legal preparation, communication management, contingency planning, and historical context, was meticulously considered. This multi-layered approach ensured that the custody of Meghan Markle would not be perceived as arbitrary or reactive, but as the inevitable result of careful planning and strategic foresight. In conclusion, the long-prepared strategy represents a masterclass in coordination, foresight, and institutional authority. It highlights the capacity of the royal family to manage high-stakes conflicts with precision, blending legal, operational, and psychological considerations into a coherent plan. For Meghan Markle, the strategy illustrates the cumulative consequences of her actions and the meticulous preparation that led to the pivotal custody moment. It is a reminder that within institutions like the monarchy, actions, even those that seem abrupt, are often the product of years of planning, observation, and careful calculation, culminating in decisive and historically significant interventions. The news of Meghan Markle's reported custody ignited a media storm that spread like wildfire across the globe. As soon as reports emerged, news outlets, social media platforms, and opinion blogs erupted with commentary, analysis, and speculation. The story quickly became a focal point not just in the United Kingdom, but internationally, capturing the attention of millions who had followed the Sussex saga for years. What made this moment so sensational was the convergence of celebrity, royalty, and legal action, Three forces that individually attract attention, but together generate a frenzy nearly impossible to ignore. Mainstream media outlets scrambled to provide up-to-the-minute coverage. Headlines were bold, dramatic, and often provocative, highlighting the unprecedented nature of Princess Anne's intervention and the gravity of the custody situation. Some portrayed the event as a dramatic fall from grace, emphasizing Meghan's once-celebrated status and the perceived shock of her current predicament. Others focused on the legal implications, exploring what custody meant within the context of the royal family and how it might set precedents for future accountability. Television networks aired rolling commentary, panel discussions, and interviews with royal experts, each dissecting the events and offering insight into what had led to this moment. Social media amplified the coverage exponentially. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok became arenas for debate, with hashtags trending worldwide within hours of the announcement. Public reactions were polarized. Some users expressed support for the monarchy's decisive action, praising the enforcement of accountability and the demonstration of institutional authority. Others voiced sympathy for Meghan, criticizing the move as harsh or unfair, particularly given her public image and global following. Memes, GIFs, and viral posts flooded timelines, each contributing to the sense that the custody event was not just news but a cultural moment, one that would be discussed, analyzed, and remembered for years. The media storm also reflected the narrative tension between tradition and modernity. Meghan, as a figure associated with modern values, celebrity culture, and media-savvy communication, became the focal point of discussions about the clash between personal agency and institutional expectation. Commentators debated whether her high-profile lifestyle and approach to public relations contributed to the escalation, or whether the royal family's insistence on protocol had created an unavoidable conflict. The story became more than a legal or familial matter. It evolved into a global conversation about authority, privilege, and accountability. International news organizations weighed in as well, interpreting the event through the lens of cultural perspectives. Outlets in Europe, North America, and Asia reported on the custody with differing emphases, some highlighting the legal and procedural aspects, others focusing on the human drama and spectacle. Analysts pointed out that the global fascination with the British royal family, amplified by Meghan's celebrity status, transformed a domestic family dispute into a worldwide narrative. The media storm underscored the extent to which Meghan's actions, and the family's response, resonated far beyond the palace, shaping perceptions, opinions, and public debate in multiple countries. Experts in media studies suggest that the coverage followed predictable patterns driven by sensationalism, narrative tension, and emotional engagement. Stories emphasizing dramatic confrontation, public spectacle, and personal conflict tend to generate high engagement, drawing viewers into the story while encouraging debate and interaction. In Meghan's case, the combination of custody, celebrity, and royal protocol created a perfect storm for widespread attention, ensuring that the narrative reached audiences who may have previously been only marginally interested in royal affairs. The media storm was not simply a byproduct of events. It was a force that actively shaped perception and magnified the stakes of the custody situation. Public commentary also included a focus on symbolism and optics. Images of Meghan being escorted, her attire, her expressions, and the composition of security teams became central to discussion, with analysts interpreting these visual cues as reflections of status, power, and consequence. Every gesture, posture, or expression was scrutinized, revealing how visual storytelling intersects with narrative construction in modern media. The coverage emphasized that within the royal context, symbolism is often as important as fact, and that public perception can influence both interpretation and outcome. Social media reactions were not limited to commentary. They also included activism, speculation, and viral debates. Users created polls, shared purported insider information, and engaged in heated arguments about the fairness, legality, and morality of the custody. Influencers and online personalities weighed in, adding layers of interpretation, humor, and dramatization that further amplified the story. The public's role in shaping the narrative became apparent. While the custody was executed privately and legally, its reception was overwhelmingly public, demonstrating the inescapable influence of modern media in high-profile family conflicts. The media storm also prompted responses from public figures and commentators. Royal experts, former staff members, and legal analysts provided interviews, op-eds, and social media statements, offering insight into both the strategic reasoning behind the custody and the broader implications for Meghan and the monarchy. Some framed the action as a necessary assertion of authority, emphasizing the importance of precedent and institutional stability. Others questioned the timing, fairness, or proportionality of the move, highlighting tensions between individual agency and institutional norms. These perspectives added depth and nuance to the coverage, inviting audiences to consider multiple angles and engage critically with the unfolding events. One notable aspect of the public reaction was its temporal intensity. Coverage and commentary surged immediately following the announcement, peaking within hours and sustaining engagement for days. The velocity of attention reflects both the global fascination with Meghan and the unique combination of celebrity, legal intervention, and royal tradition that the custody represents. Analysts suggest that this rapid escalation underscores the challenges of managing public perception in the digital age, where information spreads instantaneously and narrative control is increasingly difficult to maintain. The media storm also had tangible effects on the royal household itself. Reports indicate that internal teams monitored coverage closely, assessing public sentiment, potential backlash, and opportunities to manage messaging. Every statement from the palace was calibrated to reinforce authority, maintain dignity, and mitigate misinterpretation. The intersection of internal planning and external perception demonstrates the complexity of operating within a high-profile institution. Actions must account for both immediate execution and the long-term shaping of narrative, public opinion, and historical record. Ultimately, the public reaction and media storm surrounding Meghan Markle's custody underscore the intersection of power, celebrity, and institutional authority. The coverage amplified the gravity of the event, transformed private legal action into global spectacle, and shaped perceptions in ways that will influence both Meghan's legacy and the monarchy's narrative. It also highlights the challenges faced by highly visible institutions in managing conflict, public perception, and the complex interplay between private actions and global attention. Beneath the public spectacle of Meghan Markle's reported custody lies a tangled web of hidden betrayals that few outside the palace walls have ever glimpsed. These are not the casual disputes or minor misunderstandings frequently reported by tabloids. They are deliberate, calculated acts, whispered in corridors, documented in private letters, and observed by trusted insiders who understood the stakes long before the world did. Understanding these hidden betrayals is essential for grasping the full magnitude of Princess Anne's legal strike, as they reveal why decisive action became unavoidable. According to palace insiders, some of the earliest tensions arose from internal disagreements over loyalty and trust. Meghan's relationships with certain staff members and courtiers reportedly deteriorated due to perceived breaches of protocol, miscommunication, and instances where she was believed to have bypassed established chains of command. In some cases, these actions were interpreted as deliberate, aimed at consolidating influence or asserting autonomy in ways that clashed with the expectations of the royal household. Each betrayal, while subtle individually, contributed to a broader narrative, a pattern of disregard for convention that eroded trust over time and heightened the need for a strategic intervention. One particularly significant form of betrayal, according to sources, involved private communications and confidential information. Some insiders claim that Meghan shared or discussed internal matters with external parties without proper authorization, creating vulnerabilities and, in their view, undermining the integrity of the family's operations. These acts were not necessarily malicious in intent but were interpreted as breaches of confidence, violating the implicit contract of trust that governs royal life. Observers note that, in an institution where information is currency, even small leaks can have outsized consequences, affecting decision-making, planning, and the perception of loyalty. Further complicating matters were alleged conflicts with other family members. Sources report instances in which Meghan's interactions with cousins, senior royals, and extended family were marked by subtle manipulation, miscommunication, or competition for influence. In some cases, these actions may have been defensive, intended to navigate a complex and high-pressure environment. In others, insiders interpreted them as calculated maneuvers designed to assert power or control. Regardless of intent, the perception of betrayal was sufficient to intensify scrutiny and build a case for intervention. Leaked letters and private correspondence, according to unnamed sources, reveal a series of disputes that were kept out of public view but closely monitored by key figures within the household. These documents, often formal communications between advisors, staff, and family members, outline concerns ranging from minor disagreements to significant breaches of protocol. The accumulation of these records created a comprehensive dossier that informed the planning of the legal strike, demonstrating that the intervention was the result of careful observation and documentation rather than impulsive judgment.